Welcome back to It's Not You, It's Your Trauma. I'm Joe Ryan. If you'd like to know more about me, you can go to joeryan.com. If you want to subscribe to all episodes, you can do so at Apple Podcast or Spotify. If you're in need of coaching, you can go to joeryan.com/coaching and book a free 30-minute session to see if I'm a good fit for you. All right, here we go. Hey, I got a few minutes between sessions, so I just wanted to belt this out. Toxic relationships. Why do we stay in them? Why do we get into them? Why don't we leave? We're trying to get childhood right. So for me, I typically date emotionally unavailable women, trying to get them to become emotionally available, and somehow I feel like that's going to heal my childhood on some unconscious level. And you have to think about the way you were raised based on the relationships you have later. And why do we get into toxic relationships? Well, if you were raised by a needy, narcissistic, emptied soul parent who doesn't feel good enough, they're going to take their child hostage, make them dependent on them emotionally. When they do things that they don't like, the child gets guilted, shamed, punished, beat, neglected. So we learn that we have to self-abandon. We have to show up for this person in the way they need, and we're not allowed to leave. Sound familiar? Sound like any relationship you've had as an adult, where you get into this relationship and the thought of leaving doesn't even enter your mind? The thought of changing this person is what you become obsessed with. If I can just get this person to stop drinking, if I can just get this person to stop abusing me, if I can get this person to stop abandoning me, if I can get this person to stop neglecting me, if I can get this person to stop shaming me, then I'm okay. It's the same childhood shit. You're just replaying it in adult relationships. And it comes from that lack of self-worth, that interpersonal bridge that was broken a long time ago, where you weren't allowed to have your own identity. You weren't allowed to have your own independence. You were allowed to be extremely codependent, needy, never getting your needs met, and stick around waiting for those crumbs of affection to drop on the floor so that you could have morsels of food to survive. Like, it's time we have to grow up and emotionally leave home, because we're still that child. We're still recreating these things as adults. We're still having the same relationships. You're in that toxic, abusive, neglective, emotionally abusive relationship. It's not that far off from the relationship you had with your caregiver growing up. And we have to start identifying why we're staying, why we're putting up with this. Lack of self-esteem. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I'm unlovable. I don't know how to live in this world alone. I was taught the only way that I mattered was to become codependent to some narcissistic sick fuck and stay with them because I don't deserve any better. That shit was implanted in you in childhood. You were programmed and conditioned before you even knew it. And you think this is our identity. See, abusive relationships, toxic relationships are normal and comfortable on a certain level because that's what you were raised with. It's normal. You know the rules. You know how to be. You know what you need to do. You're just recreating it. What's not normal is somebody treating me well. Somebody showing up for me, somebody that cares for me and nurtures me and wants to see me grow as a human. Like, that scares the shit out of me because there's a vulnerability and there's a realness in it. And it's a mirror that's being held up that I have to look into. But I'll self-sabotage that. I won't even enter into it. And if I do, because it's like, okay, this feels different, it feels better. But then the fear kicks in because you don't know how to be you. If somebody's allowing you to be who you are and they like you for who you are, you think they're insane and they need to be medicated. There must be something wrong with this person if they see worth and value. They are not fulfilling my fantasy about myself. They are not meeting me on my self-hate level. So I can't do this. I don't know how to do this. And the only way we start to get into better relationships is when we start feeling better about ourselves. And you can't do the work when you're going home or you're in a relationship with somebody where you're in constant fear, where you're constantly on guard. See, if we lived in an unstable environment, we had to scan the room 24/7. We had to take the temperature of everybody's emotional regulation to make sure we were okay and safe. We couldn't be caught off guard, so we never paid attention to our own feelings. So you got to get in there and you got to start feeling, visualize what it would feel like leaving this person. Get really quiet with yourself, no distractions, and start visualizing leaving. And pay attention to what happens in your body. Fear and panic happens in your body. Why? Because when you're a child, your survival depends on the emotional connection with the person who is raising you, that is supposed to be caring for you. And for a child to lose that connection, it feels like death to them. And you are stuck at that place in adult relationships. Leaving this person feels like death, feels like my life is going to be over. I am going to be alone in my hurt and my sadness and my not good enough and my unlovableness, in my self-hate. Well, I can't deal with that, so let me stay with this crackerjack. Let me try to work this through, because if he or she turns around and sees worth and value in me, then maybe I can see it in myself. And it doesn't work that way. You have to get out there and start doing this work alone. You have to find places where you do have worth and value, where you do feel comfortable, and you build confidence in yourself. And you work on that self-esteem. And the better you feel about yourself, the less you're going to want to be in these toxic relationships, because there's a part of you that will finally realize, holy shit, do I want and deserve more out of my life? You're the only one that can do it. Even if this guy or this girl gets clean, puts down the drugs, goes through therapy, works out its trauma, does the original pain work, becomes a model citizen, is there emotionally available, is no longer shaming or blaming or emotionally abusing you, they're not the same person anymore. They may not want to be around you anymore. They may want different things. You may not like the recovered person because you're bonded in a way of two children are bonding, right? So the abuser was abused and they become the abuser, and they do to you what was done to them. Not as hard, but they have no control because nobody's taught them any skills. Nobody's taught them how to get in touch and process their anger. So they just rage on you. See, everything when they were a child was their fault. They were the ones to blame. So they learn that this is love, that this is connection, that this is relationships. That I was raised by a shameless person who put all the blame on me, and these are how relationships work. So this person becomes their abuser, and whoever their partner is, it's all of their fault because the person who raised them never took accountability. They don't know how to take accountability. Both of you are running on this unconscious post-hypnotic trance from childhood where you got stuck. And until one of you decides to break and make some space and do some work, you're going to continue to have toxic relationship after toxic relationship. And I know people who've given up. They've been in so many toxic relationships. They're like, all right, I know this person's crazy. I know if I break up with him or I leave her and I get back out there in the world, I'm just going to recreate this and it's going to be somebody else. I already know what I got here. So I ain't leaving because I'm not allowed to leave, because I'm not allowed to make my own choices. I'm not allowed to have my own identity. I have to become this person's whipping boy or girl. We have to get to the point where we start to build up our self-esteem. So you never left home emotionally. You never did the work to resolve your childhood shit. So you're recreating it over and over and over again. And how's that working out? Are you happy with yourself? You know you deserve more. You know you are not the thoughts that you and feelings and emotions that you have about yourself. You got to find somebody that's going to show you a different perspective. You got to start working on yourself. The thing is, as children, we wanted our parents to be a certain way, and we did everything we could to keep them happy and regulated, hoping someday it would change. And it never changed, because they're still the same person, because they're not doing the work. It's the same thing in your relationships now. If this person doesn't choose to do the work, it's never going to change. And you know the pattern. He or she explodes. You go into disassociation, freezing, self-hate. That person gets it all out of this system at that moment. They're calm. They had the release. All of that energy in the emotions is out of them. They become nice for a short period. They may be a little remorseful. And then slowly the anger starts to rise again. And everything bothers them, and it's your fault until they have the explosion and the release. See, they don't know how to deal with their anger. So they need someone to blame, and that's you. And that was the relationship with your parents. They couldn't handle emotionally what was going on, and they needed somebody to blame for their life. And you got it. I got it. We all got it. But at some point, you got to break the cycle. You're in a trance. You're stuck emotionally at a certain age. You think that this is the way it has to be. I only deserve to be with shitty people. Because that's what that was modeled. That's what I was taught. You got to change your perspective on yourself. And the energy, this is the thing. We use so much energy trying to figure out how we can get this person not to be a complete fucking asshole to us. How much time, energy, and effort have you spent trying to figure this person out so that you are safe in the relationship? No amount of figuring out is going to make you safe. You're never going to feel safe. And all of that energy that you're taking and putting in to trying to fix somebody who does not want to be fixed, that is just time, space, and energy neglecting and abandoning yourself. You have to slowly start figuring you out, why you are there, and how to get the hell out. It's all up to you. Nobody is going to change. Nobody's going to knock on the door and come in and say, you know what, let me referee this for a little while. You're insecure, you got rage issues, you're a helpless victim. You guys got to find that common ground to coexist. Abuser-victim never works out. End of story. There is no happily ever after for an abusive victim relationship. It doesn't work. And the sooner you come to the realization that it doesn't work, the sooner you're going to start working on yourself, and the sooner you're going to start making changes. That beep was to tell me I got a session. Sorry to cut this short. All right, I'm back. I just wanted to leave with this final thought. There is decades between what happened to you in childhood that you can't remember, that is stuck in your unconscious, and present day. If you want to heal your past and that original source figure relationship for long ago, you have to start looking at your current relationship to start piecing together your life and the choices and the decisions you made based on where you came from. We have to start fixing the choices we are making now and start making better choices so that we feel better about ourselves, so that we start to choose better partners. These partners are being chosen unconsciously because there's something familiar about it. There is decades between the original pain and the pain that you are in now. And we have to slowly work on getting you out of the pain that you're in now so we can figure out where the origin is. So we got to start working on it. You got to make better choices in the present. We can't sit here and go, well, you know what? It happened. This is the way I am, and I'm not good enough, and I'm just always going to hate myself, and I'm just going to make these choices going forward, and I've just accepted it because I don't want to be alone and I don't want to do the work. And that's a choice you can make. But if you're listening to this, I know that's not the choice that you want. Start building yourself up. Start doing things outside of this relationship that are just for you. No applause, no ego strokes. Just start taking care of yourself by learning how to feed your soul. And start giving that kid inside. That kid inside of you is screaming for love, care, attention, fun, and joy. That kid wants to live, not survive anymore. Thanks for listening. You can contact me at joeryan.com. Follow me on Instagram at joeryan. And if you want, you can leave us a review on iTunes. That'd be great. All right, take care.